Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla, and today we have Munita as our guest. Munita, thank you so much for joining in.
It is indeed my honor to be a part of your show.
Thank you so much, Munita. So let's start with our very basic question. Can you please introduce our audience to yourself, like who you are, what work you do, how you define yourself?
Basically, I'm a journalist and I'm a communication specialist. I've authored a book, Chhattisgarh, the Land of Hidden Mysteries, on 29th of October 2023. By the grace of God, it has received number one ranking in terms of archaeology, ancient history, and social and cultural history. And it is a top rated book on Amazon. It's basically a travel pictorial book. So I've worked with the DPR CMO in the past. I have worked with various ambits of communication specialization, and I have contributed articles for the Times Group. But since 2022, I became very serious to put in my efforts, particularly for the cause of development journalism and investigative journalism. I wanted to pick out the rural India. I wanted to show India for what it is truly and its raw beauty.
That's
So,
really amazing.
yeah, that is what I can say.
That's really great. And can we just talk about the inception of all of this, like why you started this, and as you mentioned, you wanted to bring the beauty of India to the pages, right? So if I talk about you, like was it something that you have from your childhood, or is it something that grown with time? So what is the really inception of it?
Actually, it is a very complex subject. In from my paternal side, I have seen people who have contributed or given something to this country always, and that is something that I've ingrained inside my blood. So my great freedom fighter, my great grandfather was a freedom fighter, and during the complete when the Punjab Boundary Act came, and during the complete India's partition movement, they left their home in Abbottabad and they came over here. And my great grandfather uh, returned back to India, finding his wife and children somehow. That is my grandmother and all, approximately after 1 year. So but his major aim was that no, humanity comes first, country comes first. And then I saw my dadi, then I saw my grandfather being one of the first foremost figures to get selected. That time, now it is All India Radio, but that time it was Akashvani, so foremost speakers of that. Then I saw my father being a very workaholic person, and handling the complete horticulture of a area, and like at 3 a.m. in the night, him being an officer, he's going on with a toilet brush and harpic to scrub off the toilet because the next day there's going to be a flower show. So I have seen this kind of work, and that kind of pressure has been on me as well. But at the same time, I do not derive all of this from these people, but it comes to me as a fact that when I look at rural India and when I look at urban India, there's a lot of difference. Over the time, I developed this self awareness and higher consciousness. And when I started talking with people, I started empathizing with them. I started understanding their concerns. I was like, this is such a beautiful temple. It is approximately 1100, 1200 years old. And if these people get the opportunity to put a if this place gets a little famous, if this place gets renowned, these people would be able to earn their livelihood. They would be able to sell agarbatti, incense, incense sticks. They would be able to open in food stalls. I should say the local handicraft, the folk art stuff, and that would thereby generate income circulation in the villages. Right now, for example, when I was in Chhattisgarh, Chhattisgarh is the ninth largest state in India, and it only comes in news when there's a Naxal attack over there. It's heavily stigmatized by the raging issue of Naxalism, whereas the complete story is very different when you look into it, and it really hampers the tourism growth of the state. And neither the government puts in that much effort as Gujarat tourism does or as Madhya Pradesh tourism does to uplift the region. So when I started talking with people, I realized that this is the state with the most poverty rate, and there's alcohol abuse every day in each and every home. And I was like, okay, if what if these villages have income circulation going on? And if tourists arrive at this place, they actually get to know about this place. They're going to send their children to school to learn basic maths and English. So that is how, at a basic level, at a very basic level, at a very small level, I could start that thing. But I heard many during my work with Times and all that motivated me to take on this thing that, hey, I don't want to go from this world like this. I want to contribute something. I just want to give in something back because I have been very grateful and I have received a lot. So it's my responsibility to pay back to the society as well.
That's really great to hear. I think we see all these things in our day-to-day life, right? Where all these things are happening around us, but somehow it's in our nature to ignore those things. And again, it's like how we want to present the society, right? And how we want to improve it. It's just that enigma that we need to have in ourselves in order to improve those things. And hats off to you for bringing that up. I think that book is around the same, right? The Land of Hidden Mysteries, Chhattisgarh. So now we know the root cause of presenting that book. So thank you so much, first of all, for having that on papers.
I want to do that with every state of India. Here, this was my pure investment. 80% of the state I covered via two-wheeler and 20% of the state was covered via buses. Now you can imagine the fuel cost, the research and documentation cost, me learning about archaeology, so taking up all the books, accommodation cost, everything. Then the book publishing, and it was a lot of hard work. Traveling 370 kilometers every day and coming back. There used to be thermal heating, and the belt used to go off. So now just imagine I am 280 kilometers far away from my home in midst of a valley, and my vehicle has broken down. But somehow I have to tackle those things, and I actually feel very good about the fact that I did this. And I hope that government of India or certain NGOs or people or businesses understand this fact that if you're going to, uh, you know, fund people who are archaeologists or students or great historians or scholars, people who want to document India, even I should say YouTubers or people who are podcasting, people who are representing your country or their gems. The government should give them that kind of aid where they are able to move on forward with it. Because after a while, what aid are we getting? How am I supposed to cover another state? It
Right.
requires a lot of amount. It's not the kind of book that I have written while sitting down. It was a book that required quite a lot of documentation and traveling.
So what was the main thought? Like why you thought like it should be presented in form of a book?
The main thought was that, see, very few people know this, but the world's largest festival is celebrated in Chhattisgarh. That is the Bastar Dashera. And it has got nothing to do with the exile of Ram, the exile period of Ram and Sita, Lakshman, nothing like that. It is all about the conglomeration of all the tribes and them celebrating this festival and the Danteshwari Mata and about the king. People know about the Mysore Palace, they know about the Udaipur Palace, but they don't know about the Kake Palace or Kavardha Palace or the Bastar Palace, and they don't know many controversial stories that are related to the state. They don't know what the Red Corridor is all about. They think that Chhattisgarh, they're even scared of crossing routes with Chhattisgarh. And there's this very heavy Naxal stigmatization, whereas the tribes of Chhattisgarh are very innocent. First of all, there are a lot of tribes, and as much as you interact with them, you get to know that they are very innocent and they are very pure-hearted. Even in research papers from the Darba Valley attack to many such attacks that have happened, we get to know that it is from the neighboring states that the Naxalites come from. And basically, there are certain political agendas that fuel it. Okay, and there were a lot of things that I wanted to cover under the impet of investigative journalism, and it is said that speak the truth even if your voice shivers. So I had to state all of those things. Now we have the first ancient amphitheater of Asia. People know about the Roman Colosseum, but people don't know that we have an amphitheater as well. People are not aware of the fact that according to mythology, now see, mythology is different, archaeology is different. So I'm going to say it in terms of mythology, even if you read it. Uh, it's said that Ram and Sita, all of these have spent a major part of their exile period in the Dandak forest. So the Dandak forest fall over here only. And we have this very mixed culture. We have very 1500-year-old brick temple intact. So foreigners come over here to take a look at it. Chinese travelers, Alexander Cunningham, have spotted that, have pressurized on the fact that Chhattisgarh is a place of a lot of importance. But government never tried to promote it. And there, and I wanted to end certain stigmas also. I wanted to talk about the local culture. There's the widest waterfall of Asia, and if people are not visiting Chhattisgarh, then what's the meaning? And I had to start from somewhere. So I had my Jupiter, and I was like, okay, let's start from here. And the roads of Chhattisgarh and the infrastructure is not so good that you can really go in by a car, or it would not have been very feasible as well. Whereas a scooter is kind of fine because for 4.5 kilometers, I remember the road being very sketchy at night, returning by 11 p.m. Uh, the roads were very, very small, and GPS and Google Maps are not very reliable. So passing them without any street lights and all gets very difficult. And I've been very candid about it. I've interacted about that in my book. That if anyone picks out that book, it's not a candy glowing fiction book. I'll be very honest. It's not the kind of book that it's a thriller. You'll read it, you'll read it. But it's the kind of book that gives you an insight. It has all the pictures. It is like an encyclopedia. It's with glossy pages and all. So when you surf through the pages, you get a glimpse of all of these 170 plus tourism hotspot sites, and you get a description of them, and you get to know about Chhattisgarh from a mythological point of view. You get to know about their tribes, you get to know about their food, you get to know about their fashion, you get to know about their lifestyle, the folk art, you get to know about everything. So it's one handbook that you can carry, and it basically helps you out with everything. You can list what are the places that you want to visit. You can list that, okay, I want to visit Bastar, I want to visit Sirpur, I want to visit this place. You can choose according to your own interest. So making it with pictures was basically the idea. And when I had interviews with the royal palaces, when I had interviews with the officials, the basically the commandos that are working in these region, when I got to know something candid, so I had to cover it up in a manner that it comes out as a very raw and authentic verbalization of a state speaking for itself.
Yeah, I think these are very valid point that you have mentioned, and you have also mentioned the pain points why it is not growing. Like you mentioned, like the lack of communication or being able to commute between different parts. It's not easy over there, and although it's pretty rich in heritage and as well as in mythology, right? But somehow I think people are more inclined towards traveling a place which is more easy to travel, right? So don't you think that can be a reason and for less travel or less
Chhattisgarh is
places?
actually very easy to travel, Mr. Shukla. To be honest, you can Durg. We have 5 divisions over here. You have Durg, you have Raipur, that is the capital, and it's very beautiful. The image that people have in their head about Chhattisgarh is very different from how Chhattisgarh is. Like Australians and people from Scandinavian countries visit Chhattisgarh from the period of June to September. That is, I told you about the 75-day Bastar Dashera festival. These people visit Chhattisgarh during that period. So it's very easy. We have the Raipur airport over there. Even in Jagdalpur there was an airport which is not functional at present, but we had it even in Bastar as well. So when these political party and their major people come, they directly land over there. And the rail railways and everything is also very well developed, and basically buses are very much prominent in the region. Buses are very much prominent in the region. We have 7 neighboring states, so it's not a problem for us.
That's great. Then I think the other point that you mentioned is about promotion, right?
Yeah, government has not been paying attention to it. Chhattisgarh tourism does not want to put in as much efforts as Gujarat tourism is putting, or as much as MP tourism is putting. MP tourism has been working so hard to put in their sites, registered in the UN as UNESCO heritage sites. We are not putting that much efforts. We are
Right.
not interested. I have been to the ministers. I've got the appreciation letter. I've got awarded that, okay, your book has been doing really well. But when I ask them for a mere assistance of 50,000 rupees to circulate my books to museums and all, the topic passes from the minister to the PS. Then the PS passes it to other people. Then it's like you're daily traveling 50 kilometers to and fro to the capital and here, and all you're getting is the basic Indian mentality. Like basically they want to know what advantage you can give them, and I can say it with extreme pride over here that neither in journalism I have not taken a single yellow envelope, and I did not compromise with my ethics. So I was really not interested. If like I am not going out with you anywhere to get an assistance from a minister for something. I have badged a gold medal from the state. If the state thinks it's good enough, good for them. If anyone thinks it's good enough, good for them. Otherwise, there's no pressure. I won't be compromising my ethics for anything.
That's really great and commendable of you. And if I ask about any story that you like to share from your entire journey till now, one story that you think should be heard, what it will be?
What that depends. What kind of story would you like to put up in front of your audience? You want something regarding the book, or you want something regarding personal or whatever?
Anything related to personal or professional, like anything you are open to sharing with.
Okay, so I'll basically this is a very candid interview. Thanks to you. You have been very um, kind and humble to me that I can open up. So I would like to talk about my father passed away on 14th of July, 2024, and it was very sudden. He was 68 years old, not very aged, and he has been a very active person in his life. I dedicate this particular video, this particular feature video to my parents who made me realize not to give up in their own way. They made me realize not to give up. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because this is a message that I want to put up in front of the mass, in front of the mass that is out there, in front of the masses via your channel. So my father was a genius person, very good with resources, and I saw him succumbing to alcohol and damaging his central nervous system like anything. Since 1.5 year, he was having hallucinations. He was losing the bladder control, and we tried to save him like anything. We were there like through thick and thin. I was doing the research work, I was managing the PR work. Apart from that, at 2 a.m. in the night also, if my father called me and told me that accidentally, while driving the car, he has reached up a certain point that is 60 kilometers far away from the house, just just in the midst of drinking and everything. I had to ask the people who are beside him, because definitely he is giving me wrong location. He's not in his senses. And me and my mother used to put him back on the stand again. And I've seen him as a person who has handled everything. But I saw this man losing everything, losing the power of making the right decisions. The way he started entertaining the wrong people, the way he was being robbed, the way he started not understanding. The most sad part was that an officer is not able to. His hands were shaking. His hands used to shake, and he was like, "I saw this, I saw that." We took him to all the doctors and everything, and still he was not leaving his alcohol. He was not leaving his alcohol. There has been no temple, there has been no dargah, there has been no church or gurudwara which I have not visited seeking prayers for this particular thing. And when he passed away, he did not even give me the opportunity that I could save him. I had been saving him. I had been rescuing him. So this is something that I would like to say, that anything consumed in a limit is fine. Anything consumed as a means of uh, pleasure or emit something is fine. But once you have a child in your family, you need to understand the fact that if that child is scared of the fact that a diesel roaring engine would just come out and there would be a screeching noise of tires, and okay, today whether it would be a good day or a bad day, and how should I pace myself or how should I prepare myself for it. And if any child, and if this is happening to every second, third, or fourth child in India, whether it would be because of alcoholism or whether it would be because of general marital problems or anything, I just want to put this up out there that your child's mind is getting shaped and it is being molded. So you're basically affecting their cogenitive health, which is something that they're carrying on for their life. That is the generational trauma. You got it from your father. They would have got it from their father. But you're passing it on from generation to generation. So either I have two options. I can break that ancestral generational trauma right here and I can put up the right message, or I can carry this on forward. I just have two things. I can understand what went wrong and I can rectify that, or I can continue the wrong patterns for life. So anyone who is a parent who is watching this or is wishing to be a parent and is a child who is listening to this, I would just like to tell you that today psychiatry has grown more than it was in my time while I was young. And psychology, psychiatry, all of these are proven branches of medical sciences, and you can you can always head forward with it. And mental health awareness is very important, emotional support is very important, and people need to understand that your child, if they have this fear that whether today would be a good day, a funny day of alcoholism, or a bad day where your mother could get beaten or you could get beaten. Okay, someone who is very good. My father was an excellent human being. I'm saying this over here. He was an excellent human being. He told me that there's only one religion. I just don't want you to leave people starving, and I just don't want you to leave anyone bleeding on the road. And those are the two things that I follow. And he was a gem of a person. But I saw this gem of a person becoming so harsh and cold and taking wrong decisions because of the manner in which he was affecting the central nervous system. He got crazy for it. He wanted it in black. I saw him doing the substance abuse thing and I was scared for him. And the way I was watching him, it used to make me cry. The way, like, if I had to write my phone number in bold and caps letter in his register, and like it was very difficult for me to forgive myself that at that time I was not there. I was not aware of this thing. And then after a lot of time I went through counseling and they told me that there's a cycle of control. There are certain things that you can't control, and that was that was scheduled for that day. But I had this little bit of agony inside my heart. Then that when I was trying so much, when my mother was trying so much, why did you not stay? Why did you not stay? So, for anyone who is here listening to it, if you are someone who gets completely drunk and gets into the house or is verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive to his or her spouse or partner, I would like you people to seek a psychiatrist, seek counseling, and find mutual ways to have an agreement over it. But showing your child all of this is basically shaping their cogenitive mind. Their hypothalamus section, which carries the memory section, is getting shorter. Their precortex brain is getting affected. And for the rest of their lives, they would be questioning themselves. They would be either continuing the wrong patterns for all of their life, they would be either becoming ardent people who are indulged into drugs and abusive behavior and they find it normal, and or they would be developing avoidant personality, they would be afraid of developing emotional intimacy with people, or they could end that generational trauma. Whosoever is watching this right now, I know that one or the other person has suffered one or the other kind of thing. Whether it was about parents insisting you to be a better student in school, or to do this or to accomplish that, or putting up your dreams or anything, you can break that generational trauma right now, and you can be a good person.
I think first of all, so sorry for your loss, and secondly, I think these are very generic point that you mentioned, right? Every one of us, or every second person who you meet, is going through it or have gone through it, right? But we are not so much open to discussing it, right? So thank you so much for opening on these things and telling us the right way and the right path on how it can be improved or how you can get yourself better from all these traumas, right? Because somehow, in one way or another, right, it is going to affect you, your family, the one you are surrounding, right? So thank you so much, first of all, Monita, for bringing this all up. And
Yeah, because a person can be a beautiful soul, a wonderful soul, but their soul can be scarred by a particular drug, a particular substance, and they won't know the repercussions of their actions. And when they themselves realize it, it even harms them. It even sits in their conscience. So that is why my father was a wonderful soul. There's not a single day where I don't feel like that. Okay, I'm not hearing his voice again. I'm not hearing his voice again. But I lost him because I tried a lot. I tried a lot. I tried to give him all kinds of juices. Okay, whatever you like, Papa. Whatever is fine with you. Making French fries, whatever he would like to eat. He did not want to eat. He went all like very thin and pale and everything. And I was like, this is not you. This is not the man I know. This is not the man who has built the mini train or the musical fountain. I know you as a genius. And watching him like that, watching him with shaking hands, watching him with a twisted tongue, watching him with a slurry speech was sad, was aching me every day. And we tried very hard. And there are many people who are trying very hard every day. And people who are fighting, it's normal, it's absolutely healthy to have a fight between marital spouses, two girlfriends and boyfriends, two friends, everything. But there are means in which you resolve it. I would really suggest people to have more self-awareness and emotional intelligence and higher consciousness. They can go out for these books. They can take these books or they can download these Pinterest templates that are really helpful. They can just search uh, questions for self-discovery, and that would really help them in reinventing themselves because they would understand certain things that they don't even know. If I am acting in a certain manner and I don't understand why I'm acting in this manner, then there's a reason attached to it. So by exploring those questions, we understand ourselves better. So we can take up this task that we can perform one or two of these questions every day and maintain a diary or a journal and have a little perspective about our own selves.
thank you so much, Monita, for sharing this. I hope it will help a lot of people. Now, coming to your professional or like personal dream. So, what is it right now? Or like, if I ask, like, what's next for you?
Uh, Basically, I'm more into. I even got selected into this Prasar Bharati anchor cum correspondent grade 3 officer for DD News English. But I am more into print journalism and I want to write for global peace. I had a website where I used to simplify these conflicts without targeting any part. If, for example, if I'm writing about Israel and Palestine, so I would write their entire history and simplify it and decode it. And I would just speak what it is. I would not take sides because it is not under my professional ambit. I have to be balanced and I have to be unbiased. So I want to work towards global peace, mental health awareness. Uh, I want to talk about India right now. I want to represent India right now. There's so much that is unseen and unheard in India that I want people to take. When people globally buy my book and then they see this particular state and get to know about it, I feel really glad about this thing. That because sometimes I've heard very weird perceptions from people about India. They think that India is some kind of country which lacks sanitation or hygiene and all of this. And there may be many pitfalls to our country, but our country and our culture is something which dates back to centuries or aeons ago and is very rich and vivid, and it should be presented in a golden form outside. So I am not the perfect person. I am very flawed, but I'm trying to improve. And I want to get this chance to present India in a wonderful manner, present all of these states, present all of these sites in a digital form or in the written form or in whichever manner I can. I want to stand at those pedestals where I can talk about India, talk about our country, talk about the challenges that we are facing, and actually do something about it at my level rather than blaming the system, rather than blaming the government. What am I doing? If a woman at my home is not empowered, if a woman at my home is taking a gungat, if a woman at my home does not know how to use Paytm or how to do a debit card transaction, then I have failed. I need to change that thing right away at my home level, first of all. Then I should step up with the game of fighting for all the women outside, fighting for the society outside. But first of all, I should take a look within myself. If I'm myself flawed and if I'm myself doing something wrong, then I need to understand. If I'm myself having all issues about, if I myself don't feel good about myself and I go out there and I become this flaky person or I promote a brand that I don't believe in and is actually a cancer causing brand or is actually not the right brand, then there's something very wrong with me. Change starts right here.
And I think this is really a great points that you are mentioning again. So we wish you all the best for the same, and we hope you achieve it as soon as possible. So thank you so much, Monita, for your insights. I think it was really a wonderful experience for me to know your stories and to know everything. So thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Shukla, for having me in this interview. And this was indeed a great experience. And I wish you all the luck as well. You have been doing an incredible job. The stories of all the people who have been already put up were incredible. And I hope you cover more such stories and you represent more of such. Things.
Thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot.